Their service is a part of America's history. Join us as we step into their story.
I guess I started out in the Army as a second lieutenant, ROTC graduate from Kansas State University, 1961. Shortly thereafter, I deployed to Vietnam for the first time in 1965. I flew CV-2B Caribou aircraft, which is a rather unusual aircraft in that the Army does not have them anymore. And our mission in Vietnam, of course, was to supply mainly special forces camps out in the boondocks, as well as airdrops, short takeoff and landings, troop carrier, into short field. The shortest I can remember flying into was 825 feet. And if you're a pilot, you know that 825 feet is not a big runway or not a long runway. So we had to be very careful and exercise good technique on getting into those short fields in Vietnam. One of the experiences I did have, which is very memorable to me, of course, is in Ashau Valley in 1965, where we had to go in and airdrop ammunition and supplies to a besieged special forces camp. That team had been overrun by the North Vietnamese because we were in the northern part of South Vietnam, and we felt very good about what we were able to accomplish in getting those guys some supplies and mainly ammunition because they were shooting back at those guys. One of the things that I remember about that mission was flying over several other aircraft which had gotten shot down, including an A-1E Air Force aircraft. And later on, the pilot of the rescue aircraft after the A-1E got shot down and crash landed at Ashau Valley Airport, 800 feet, something like that. This guy, Red Fisher was his name, earned the Congressional Medal of Honor as a result of him rescuing his wingmate from Ashau Valley, that little airport there, and hauled him out. As a result of that bravery and heroism, he won the Congressional Medal of Honor. And my crew and I, we only won the Distinguished Flying Cross as a result of our actions, but I remember old Red Fisher and his heroic actions from Ashau in 1966. And spent some time as a company commander at Fort Hood for the 55th Aviation Battalion at Fort Hood, and then got deployed again to Vietnam in 1967. That would be October of 1967. And I only lasted 5 months there. I got shot down, wounded, and evacuated. I was evacuated in reverse back to the United States, to Fort Hood exactly, on a stretcher. So I have that experience from my second tour in Vietnam. And that the UH-1C gunship, which was the father of the Cobra and the grandfather of the Apache, which is now still in use in the Army, the UH-1C was the helicopter gunship back in the middle 60s. So that's what I flew during this tour in Vietnam. Well, we had a fire team, what they call a fire team. 3 helicopters and a fire team. And our technique was to, when we were engaging the enemy, was to fly in a racetrack pattern around the enemy location where we were firing on. And we would, one ship would shoot, and the other 2 would kind of rotate around and protect the other one, the one that was shooting. And we just did a racetrack pattern around there. And in my case, I think I got a little bit too low during that time, and I regret that, of course, because I'm living with those injuries from way back when. But that's what, like I say, somebody thought enough of me to say, hey, this guy needs a DFC for this. So that's what happened on that. Penetrated a lot of enemy fire, of course, and somebody liked what we did, so that's what we got recommended for the DFC. And we did our job. And of course, I remember some of those who did their job and did not make it back. Those are the people that are really in need of the proper recognition in today's world, those that did not make it back. being wounded is leg wound. We were in friendly territory, fortunately. Vietnam, there was no front lines, of course, so we went down in friendly territory, and I was medically evacuated back to Fort Hood. Went through Vung Tau, Vietnam. I went through Philippines, Japan, Tachikawa Air Force Base is what I remember is the name of the outfit or the location where I was still hospitalized, and went through Travis Air Force Base and eventually Fort Hood. Recuperated at Fort Hood and stayed in the Army and lasted for a total of 28 years in the Army from the time I came in as a second lieutenant until I retired as an Army reservist in 1991 as an 05 a lieutenant colonel. So in a nutshell, that was my career in the Army.